Good morning, Tri-Cities. It's Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and it's still time for Coffee with Karl. Today is part of our special 21st annual Economic Outlook. And today we are joined by our partners from all of our 4 cities in the Tri-Cities, which, being a new Tri-Citian, I guess I'm not as surprised as I first was to know that we're really quad cities, not Tri-Cities, but we we already picked the brand. We'll stick with that. So it's my pleasure to introduce our guests. First off, we have Evelyn Lusignan from City of Kennewick. She is the Public Relations and Customer Service Manager. Good morning, Evelyn. Oh, you're still on mute. I'm sorry.
Great start there. Good morning.
Okay. No worries. It's great to see you. And I do want to give you a shout out for all the great work that you and City of Kennewick have been doing on the mass vaccination site. So thanks for taking the time to join us this morning.
Thank you.
We have Mandy Wallner from the City of Richland. She is the marketing specialist for economic development. Good morning, Mandy.
Good morning, Karl. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for joining us. From City of Pasco, we have Rick White, who's the Community and Economic Development Director. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Karl. Happy to be here.
You bet. It's good to have you. And very much last but not least is Eric Mendenhall from City of West Richland. He is the Community Development Director. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Karl. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, I kind of alluded to my coffee cup story or mug. I've got when we went to the common branding for Visit Tri-Cities in general, TRIDEC, and the regional chamber, I've just got the Tri-Cities mug, which is kind of the monochrome, but I think it's representative of our discussion this morning. We all work closely together. I think we've, even during COVID, had more chances to do a lot of Zoom meetings and share information and try to help each other out as we get through the COVID crisis. So that's my coffee or mug story. And let's go to Mandy first for your coffee or mug story.
Well, today I decided to go not necessarily with a funny one, but I'm flying the Richland flag. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, City of Richland.
But it's keeping my coffee warm so that I can enjoy that the entire time. And I think the even more exciting part of that is I have one here for Karl. So after this, I'm gonna be figuring out how to get this over to you and up your mug game.
That's awesome. I do need help on the mug game. So, free shout out to anybody that wants to give me a mug. I'm happy to give you a plug on Coffee with Karl because I'm literally going through like 3rd and 4th time of making a story up about my mugs that I brought with me. So that's awesome, Mandy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Eric, how about you? What do you got for a mug this morning?
Well, I'm from the west side, so of course I always bring over my school pride with me. So I've got my Husky mug. Keeping me going this morning.
That's awesome. If you didn't have something that was related to the Huskies, Eric would be disappointed. I'll just tell you that for sure. Rick, how about you? Do you have a coffee or mug story for us this morning?
Well, I do. Just one that's going to date me. And it's full of water today, but this is a Tully's thermal cup from way back when. And I'll just leave it there, Karl. Stop while I'm ahead.
Don't feel bad. We all remember Tully's. And Evelyn, how about you? Do you have a coffee or mug story for us this morning?
Well, I brought one of my favorites. This is my elephant mug. I have loved elephants since I was in grade school because when we were learning the alphabet, the front of the classroom was the alphabet, and E was for elephant, and it was also for Evelyn. So from the time I learned to read and write, the letter E and elephant and Evelyn went together. So that's my good luck mug.
That is an awesome mug. We don't have like a mug hall of fame on Coffee with Karl, but maybe we should start one because that was really cool mug. Well, everybody that's joining us on Zoom, thanks for tuning in, I guess you could say, on a Zoom webinar. But if you do have a question, we'll use the question and answer feature on Zoom. If you're on social media, you can ask a question in the comment section, and we will have questions kind of in the second part of our time together this morning. But we're going to start off and give all of our cities somewhere around 7 minutes to kind of give an overview of the projects and some of the great work that they're doing. And then, like I said, in the second half, we'll get into some questions. So we're going to kick it off with Evelyn. And Evelyn, I think Tracy's got your slides, I believe. Or are you going to share a screen with us? Oh, Tracy's got it. Okay. Take it away, Evelyn.
All right, great. Well, thank you again for having us this morning to share what's going on in each of our cities. Really appreciate the opportunity. Today, we're going to be talking about how we're doing. Next slide, Tracy, if you could. It's a little hard, to come in because we're obviously in the middle of a pandemic, and to talk about things that are how they're going, which in a lot of ways things are going well with a lot of what we've got in the city, but we also know a lot of our businesses are struggling right now. So I want to make sure I acknowledge that we've had some business closures and some other businesses that are struggling, but we also have lots of signs of resiliency in our community, and that's some of the things that we can share today of how the city is doing well, and that we're seeing lots of signs that once we're able to be fully open, that we have a lot of hope that our economy is going to recover quickly. So some of the things that reflect how we're doing is our building permit activity continues to remain very active. Our building permit evaluation for January was nearly 27 million. This is a decrease from last year, but if you look at the chart, you can see that 2020, while it was a little bit lower, that's still a lot of activity happening during the year of COVID. We're also seeing our express permitting has continued to be very busy. That especially for our single family residential home permitting, that's a very popular option. Another thing that all the cities had to face, we're still closed to the public, and we've been doing all of that activity online, over the phone, and just been able to really assist our customers all the way through being closed, our doors closed to the public. We've come up with a lot of creative ways to continue to keep those building permits flowing, and still a lot of activity. And we've had quite a few major capital projects thanks to the Kennewick School District. In fact, right next door, we've got the major remodel of Kennewick High School. SOUTHRIDGE has had some projects, Kamaikan. So the school district has really added a lot to our building permit activity in the city. So looking ahead, Tracy, next slide, if we could. These are the areas that we're wanting to focus on business recruitment. Of course, that's been, again, difficult this past year, but this is what we're focusing on and wanting to recruit into the various areas and our opportunity centers. So looking through where we have VISTA Field, some of the things we want to recruit there, our downtown area, the Southridge, along Clearwater, and our Bob Olson Parkway, Hanson Park area. So just an idea of some of the things that we're hoping to bring in, and still feel very confident that we'll be able to do that. Next slide, please. Some of the incentives to develop in Kennewick is we have, we really refined our timelines for commercial permitting. And again, the express permitting, which has been a very popular program where some permits can be turned around in the same day. So that's been, again, hugely popular with our single family homes. We have still good prices on vacant land that is available. The work that we've done down in our Columbia Gardens area with the wine effluent treatment system and bringing in additional wineries there. And still hoping to see us move into some higher phases quickly because the weather's getting nice, and that's just a beautiful area that's developed that the port partnership with the Columbia Gardens area. We've also put together some toolkits to attract breweries and how their wastewater could be treated, and hoping to attract some new breweries to Kennewick. And of course, we've had our opportunity zones that provide financing incentives to develop in areas of Kennewick that have been, have created a lot of interest in some of those areas in our downtown and around the VISTA Field area. And our next slide, please. In our downtown waterfront, we're super excited that we received the site plan for the 19, which is a 5-story mixed-use property down on the Canal Street where Canal and Auburn, that corner, that's going to be mixed use with some high-end apartments and retail on the first or second floors. We just recently saw the opening of Heber Hatchets, which is right next to the Layered Cake Artistry where they opened up. David's Shoes is under new ownership and they're looking at expanding their retail selection. Rockabilly is completing an expansion this spring. And our farmers market continues to be hugely popular in the downtown area. And then just last night at our council workshop, we had received information that the Historic Downtown Kennewick Partnership is ready to submit an application for a creative arts district in our downtown area. So we're very excited about that. That brings in lots of partners, and the city has been working with the HDKP on that application. And so we're and there's been discussions with the state on that program. And so we're very excited. We think we'll get approved to get that creative arts district downtown, which will just make it an additional destination location. It helps recruit new businesses down there to have that, and just adds to the vibrancy and attractiveness of our downtown Kennewick area. And another aspect with our downtown and connecting to our waterfront, again, the partnership with the Port of Kennewick has been one of the most amazing partnerships that we have in development. And we look at combining resources where we can. We submit, we've had several submissions for taking advantage of the rural county capital funds with the county on different projects, and looking to do more of that in the future. So that partnership continues to grow and be strong, and that we're able to bring to the table the things that each of us do really well, with the city looking at infrastructure and utilities, and of course the port with their expertise on buildings and facilities, and that we can bring that partnership and combine funding resources and opportunities like the rural county capital funds to just, further what we're doing with the downtown, the waterfront, and other areas of Kennewick like VISTA Field. So that partnership is a huge piece of our economic development outlook for the future. Next slide, please. And I just, some other huge additions with the waterfront area was the tasting rooms, and now the food truck plaza. That's hugely popular. And again, when we can get further open, that's just the dynamic and vibrancy of that area is just huge. We're also putting in some new signage. We had a BNSF grant project that is $30,000 that we were awarded. And we're putting some wayfinding signs in that area that should be in probably the next month. And so that area just, every month you go down and see what just new things that are being added, and more people coming down there and able to enjoy our waterfront and the restaurants. And next slide, please. And then our VISTA entertainment area, very exciting with everything that the port is doing. We still have our public-private partnership that's in its due diligence process, as both the private side is seeking funding, and then the city working with that partnership to expand the convention center and add a performing arts theater. So more information to come on that as we work through financing options, and really that's going to be a game changer in bringing that project to the VISTA area, in addition to all of the amazing work the port is doing. So we'll see that area in the coming months and years really start to transform. And next slide, please. And our Southridge area continues to be a growing area. Again, it shows how we're growing in all areas of Kennewick, the waterfront, VISTA Field, and with Southridge. The hospital is putting in a large expansion, new hotel recently added, a new mixed use development next to where the dugout has been applied for. So that's adding another, another development where we're seeing that mixed use component that is hugely popular and really brings, you know, a really dynamic economic development piece when you've got mixed use and not just single use. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, with the work that the school district's doing, they're doing a 30,000 square foot addition at Southridge. Next slide, please. So what are some things that are coming? We're continuing to work on wayfinding signage to move people around in our community. We just recently did a shoreline stabilization project in Columbia Park. We are still working on the connectivity between the Columbia Gardens and downtown area, and our 395 Ridgeline Drive interchange. Just recently got the bids on that, and construction will start in April, and that project is you know, about a 2-year project. So we're excited. That's going to be another huge piece of providing economic development in our Southridge area, getting that interchange completed in Southridge. And next slide. I think that was the last one.
That was the last one. Well, thanks, Evelyn. That was really, really great. We'll keep on moving. We'll go to Rick White next. Rick will tell us about kind of an update on Pasco, and we'll keep on rolling through these presentations, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So that was great. Thanks a lot, Evelyn. Rick, are you ready to?
I am. Thank you, Karl.
Yeah.
So I'll organize my controls here and get on and ask for Tracy's assistance with starting the slideshow.
There we go.
My focus has always been how we can leverage our public investment for private investment, and that's where I'll be focused on today. So the first slide involves a very major Pasco project, the Lewis Street Overpass project. So the existing underpass that was built in, I think, 1938 is going to be replaced by the overpass process. The whole, well, practically speaking, of course, it's going to provide a modernized gateway into downtown Pasco, but it's also going to change perceptionally the whole entrance into the city of Pasco from areas east of Oregon Street. I know the slide says it was advertised for bids. However, the bids are actually scheduled to be awarded this coming Monday at the city council meeting. So we've had a bid protest dismissed, and we're moving forward with that project. And that leverages very well into the next slide, which is a related transportation improvement project. As long as the overpass for Lewis Street is being constructed, the city has a $2 million project for Lewis Street corridor improvements from 2nd Avenue to 5th Avenue. So from the western end of the new overpass, essentially a block past the farmers market area, the city will be reducing the travel lanes on Lewis Street, widening the sidewalks, replacing street trees, and adding street furniture for this project, roughly $2 million in cost and funded from a variety of sources. And this is an in-house project, so our public work department is doing this on their own. And the important thing is to make sure that we don't disrupt business unintentionally. There's another project I'm going to speak about in a moment, but part of the care we're taking is to make certain that all the businesses downtown are fully aware of the schedules, the timeframes, what they can expect in terms of disruption, because it's going to be hard to manage, but we'll go from there. So I'm going to go to the next slide, which involves an opposite end of town, the Northwest Area Sewer Local Improvement District, the Broadmoor area. This is the area north of Interstate 182 and west of Road 100 or Broadmoor. This project's been on the books for quite a while. The $7 million sewer expansion project has been awarded. The contractor is mobilized and on site. Prior to the award of the bid, the city extended sewer underneath the freeway to the very southern extreme of the area near Harris Road. And this will kick off what we hope a substantial private investment in the Broadmoor area. There's about 150 acres of commercial property. The remainder of the Broadmoor area, roughly 1,300 acres or so, is scheduled for a variety of mixed uses and residential opportunities. We hope to have roughly, well, somewhere between 7,000 and 8,500 dwelling units in this area as we look forward for the next 20 years. And it represents a significant component of Pasco's urban expansion area to accommodate our 20-year growth projection. If we could run back to the east side by going to the next slide, we'll talk about the City of Pasco's processed water reuse facility projects. In case people don't know, the city owns roughly 14 sections of land that have irrigation systems on them. We use those pivot systems to dispose of wastewater from the food processing industry by mixing it with fresh water, applying it as irrigation to the farm circles, and then leasing those circles back to the growers that supply the food processors. So it's a great system. It's received a lot of favorable attention from EDA and the state. We tend to, it hasn't had a lot of attention in the past 25 years, so we're looking at ways to increase its productivity, and one of those is to expand the winter storage area, which is the slide you're looking at right now. So again, it's a project that's received favorable reviews from the state. They're helping us with this, and we expect to add roughly 150 million gallons of winter storage, which will allow food processing to expand, because candidly, the Pasco Processing Center is out of room and out of capacity. It's been a very successful effort over the past 25 years, and we're looking for all sorts of ways to increase the ability, again, to leverage that private investment. And related to that, if we go to the next slide, is another processed water reuse facility project down near the south end of the Pasco city limits, near Highway 12 and the Pasco-Colotis Highway. We're talking about a pump station and a force main to get the gray water north up to the disposal system that I just described. So again, this is, well, it's about $3 million less than a $20 million project. We've received a wide array of federal grants and state grants. That project has also been awarded, and we're looking to start on that this spring. And if we go to the next slide, please. Oops, darn it. Well, it's a little out of order, but I'll go ahead and talk about it anyway. This is one of my personal favorites, the Peanut Park Farmers Market restoration downtown. We thought that the project would be about $8 million. It's actually scheduled now for just a little over $7 million. The farmers market pavilions, which haven't been touched since they were built, so I don't even know when it was. I think it was the mid-90s. They're going to go through a substantial facelift. Peanuts Park, you know, it has that 1960 style decoration theme going. That's going to go away. Those giant concrete structures are going to be flattened and removed. The park's going to be revitalized, and we're looking at that again to take place while the Lewis Street Improvement Project and the Overpass Project are being completed, so we can leverage all that public investment and work with the downtown businesses to just give that very popular local gathering area a complete facelift. And we just awarded that bid as well. Bids, by the way, came in very much below what we estimated. So again, very pleased with how that's going. And then the next slide, please. I have to skip back a little, but there's a third process water reuse facility project for the force main. This is a big one. Two 20-inch force mains, almost 5 miles from the Pasco Colotus Highway area to the reuse facility. Again, in conjunction with the pump station project, and we have not yet opened bids on that. I think that happens next week, and we'll be awarding that project very shortly. And then the last slide I have is the Pasco urban area expansion. If we could just go one more. The 20-year growth population, we expect to have to add room for another roughly 50-some thousand residents. If you look at the orangish, pinkish area at the very top of this slide, that is an additional 300-acre industrial expansion in partnership with the Port of Pasco. The port is working right now with a very important tenant for food value-added processing. Again, all these process water reuse facility, force mains and pump stations and winter storage and the expansion of the urban area, these are all to promote what we have is a very good industrial cluster of food processing. So it's a hot hand right now. We're going with what's hot. And I'm not going to talk anymore about the ports project. They can do that, I think, next week or next Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. But we are working hand in hand with them. And the challenge, like with most things, is getting the utility costs under control, because it's expensive to put water, sewer, and get rid of wastewater in these kinds of operations. So that's pretty much it, the big things, and that's my take on the public investment from the city of Pasco.
Oh, thanks, Rick. Those are really, really exciting projects and great overview. Next up is Mandy from City of Richland. Mandy, take it away.
All right. Well, I kind of had planned a tour for you guys to kind of go around Richland and some of our hotspots and projects that we have planned in development and coming up. So hopefully some new things that maybe you haven't heard and an update on some things you have. So I'll kick it off with our Island View area, which is down kind of around Bateman Island and Columbia Park Trail. If you noticed or have been down there recently, from Columbia Center Boulevard almost to the highway, we are improving that whole area and doing new road improvements, adding bikes, curb gutter sidewalk, or bike lanes, curb gutter sidewalk, and all of those improvements, widening that road to make it a really nice, smooth ride for everybody and create that connectivity. There's also a new apartment project going in down there with 24 units of 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. And that's actually had a groundbreaking in the last couple of weeks. So that's exciting to see down there, along with all the Spalding Business Park developments that have gone in down there. That's really an up and coming area. As you work this direction, I guess, maybe a little bit further, Center Parkway extension is finally going through. And so we're excited to see that in partnership with the Port of Kennewick. That will connect Center Parkway from where it currently sits across the railroad tracks to Tapteel, which will come in to Tapteel right around where the Holiday Inn Express is, behind Kohl's. So that's Tapteel Drive right there, which I had to look up the name, so I'm not sure how many people know the name of that street, but we're also working on how that connectivity with Steptoe will work and reworking that intersection for future project. So we should see that flow and connectivity improve over the next couple of years. And so we're excited about that project. As we move into downtown Richland, of course, as you come into town, you've probably noticed our new wayfinding signs are going up, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but 650 George Washington Way, the Park Place development is up and the siding is up and people are getting ready to start leasing and moving in. There's a little over 6,000 square feet of retail space associated with that development. So we've been excited to see that start filling up. Gray's has applied for their tenant improvements to move into that space, which will leave a really great vacancy in the Parkway for a new restaurant. Ara Sushi is a new business that's been in downtown. Novelty, Tri-City Cider, Fresh Leaf, just to name a few, are some businesses that we've seen crop up in the downtown in the last few months, over the last well, since summer. So that's been exciting to see, even though we've had some unfortunate closures in the wake of COVID. Having those new businesses come into play has actually been really exciting. So changing ownership of buildings, refresh of some of those buildings downtown. So if you haven't been down, I definitely encourage everybody to come for a visit. It's always fun. And now we can offer coffee all the way to ice cream and feed you lunch in the middle. So be sure to come check that out. We've also been excited to see some refresh of hotels that are downtown. So the Holiday Inn is now, or the former Red Lion is now a Holiday Inn, and that happened right middle of COVID. So you'll drive down at night and you can see the new pretty green lights outside, and they renovated the entire interior of that facility, as well as the Days Inn is going to see a facelift. And of course, cap that off with our 505 Swift project, which we are still entertaining offers and projects for. Council's kind of waiting to see the right mixed use development. And so hopefully at some point I'll have something to chat with Evelyn about for some good mixed use. After we leave downtown, we head out to City View, which is a lot easier now that the Dupertail Bridge is completed and those traffic signals have been revised and are safer and bigger and easier to navigate. That opened up a 10-acre property that the city owns between Queensgate Drive and the bridge, which is actually right off of City View Street. And so that property will begin, we're in the process of preparing it for sale. So we'll be looking at whether we're going to do an RFP or how that sale will come together and what types of uses will be there. It's commercial limited business, so hope to incorporate some residential uses, commercial uses in the right way, as we have a lot of city facilities around that area also. And then for those of interest, DNR is going to be, or Department of Natural Resources is going to be doing an auction of several acres of land around that area as well, probably mid-late summer as they work through some of the COVID restrictions for being able to do public meetings and doing that in the most appropriate way. But that will include a lot of opportunity for more residential, in addition to some commercial opportunity, which they will retain ownership of. And we're just working with them to make sure that that process goes off as easy as possible, and however we can partner with them to execute. One other project you may have seen out in that area in the Walmart parking lot, there's some construction going on, and that's going to be a new Habit Burger, which is something new to the Tri-Cities. They're out of California, and it is a fast casual burger chain, which is kind of exciting. Always good to have a new burger to try in the town. So they should be able to get that done in the short order. So we'll have that up and running. Once you leave City View, we'll head out to Horn Rapids, and we have a lot going on out there for anybody that doesn't just drive through Horn Rapids on their commute. We have a lot of industrial land for sale, several thousand acres, and so, or a few thousand acres, I should say. And we've had actually a lot of interest over the last few months, especially for large industrial users that are looking to locate, people looking to move their business. TRIDEC's been a great partner in helping us kind of identify those and respond to those. And in order to get some new business to Richland, recruit those high-end jobs, and of course, bring more residents to town. So in preparation for that, we're also working on conducting a rail study to expand our rail network out at Horn Rapids. And that will work on some connectivity to our new 1,341 acres, in addition to providing some more large industrial users access to rail, as we anticipate that being kind of a new wave in transportation and logistics. So we definitely want to make sure that being that we're served by 2 Class 1 railroads, we can keep catering to that customer. Commercial property growth is huge out there. We are just getting ready to kick off actually our First Street extension. It's in the design phase, finishing the design phase, and it will open up several 1.5 acre parcels, which is something that we tend to turn pretty quick. So as soon as we get them on the market, then we sell those pretty fast. That's a desirable size. So we'll have quite a few of those come online here shortly. In addition to the vicinity apartments, which are also located out in Horn Rapids, close to Legacy Park and this commercial development. So that'll bring more residents kind of across the street from Horn Rapids Residential to kind of build out that area and help promote and use those commercial businesses. That'll be a $48 million project and add 288 apartments. So significant amount of people will be moving into that area. And that'll be next to, or in the vicinity of, the Sun Market and Firehouse subs, which I know the neighborhood was excited to see kind of that commercial development get kicked off. And I think that that will just spur the fire that we'll see of land sales and commercial development to support those neighborhoods now that we have so many rooftops in that area. And that's one of our primary growth areas for residential in Richland. Our commercial plaza is actually on the Horn Rapids residential side of the street, and that also is featuring 4 commercial lots of somewhat varying sizes for commercial development, whether it be strip malls, independent uses. There's 1 pending lot, but there's still 4 available. So a lot of interest in those as well. So if that's something that people are looking for, consider Horn Rapids for sure. The residential, as I said, does continue to grow out there. We're working on finishing that final phase of the Horn Rapids residential area and plan for the future growth that we anticipate out there as well. Commercial construction, just to give a little bit of a highlight, was down for 2020 with the number of projects, but we did see a slight increase in project values, which is kind of an interesting trend. Something to kind of keep an eye on for the future. Our housing numbers last year, Richland, grew by over 300 rooftops. Badger Mountain South and Horn Rapids, of course, are the primary areas that we're adding those rooftops. And so we had 386 single family homes in 2020, which was the highest since we've been issuing licenses. In 2002 was the second highest in that. 6% increase over 2019. And then the average home value continues to climb, which is, of course, what our market trends are telling us, but also something fortunate for Richland. So we're also trying to fill in that intermediate value level as well so that we can cater to our entire market. And with that, I'll switch over to just some programs that the city offers. And we're excited to announce that we're growing our commercial facade program, which helps us give back to business. We were able to allocate $100,000 to that program this year. And so that helps with commercial improvements for existing businesses that can do exterior facade improvements to their building. We have all that information on our website, richlandbusiness.com, and I'm always happy to entertain those details. Wayfinding signs are going up around town, Jadwin Stevens, the reader board on George Washington Way, and then we'll have a new one on Aaron Drive to complement those that have been done by the City of Kennewick. So you'll see some continuity there. And our advanced metering project, which is going in for our utility department to help homes become more automated in their meter reading and get more accurate data back for billing and those types of things. So with that, I think that concludes my tour of Richland. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast and run you around too quick, but we're excited about all the things going on and the success we're seeing and hope to continue that through 2021.
That's great. Thanks, Mandy. All right, Eric, are you ready for what's going on in West Richland?
Of course. Just give me a minute here to get it going.
You bet.
Everybody see the slideshow? I'm somewhat new at this. So West Richland is experiencing quite the housing explosion. There's a lot of development happening. You can see on this map all of the different types of development that we're anticipating over and experiencing over the next year or two.
I'm sorry, I've only seen like your first slide.
You're seeing my first slide?
Yeah, I wonder if you can do like on the bottom, I think there's a start slideshow and maybe that'll give us a full screen on your, sorry to interrupt you.
Tracy, can you help me out? Maybe me driving was a bad idea.
That's okay. Hey, it's not the first time the Cougars have helped the Huskies, right?
Hey.
I have to say that for Tracy. That's not me. I'm neutral, but
there's been many Apple Cups where the
there you go.
Cougars have helped out the Huskies. So like I said, we are experiencing quite the housing explosion. Next slide. This purple area that you see north of Rupert Road, the property owner submitted a comprehensive plan amendment looking at some master development plans for that area. It's 900 acres. Just south of Rupert Road is where the Aho builder is pounding out houses quite rapidly. And They're supposed to be getting their final plat approval for phase 2 next week. So if you're looking at moving into West Richland, they'll have some new lots available starting next week out there. All of the beige color is single family residential that we're seeing. The brown is multifamily development. That orange downtown is mixed use development. We're seeing some office space and retail and multifamily going in there, which will be exciting. And then the red is commercial developments that we're seeing happen here in West Richland. So lots going on. Next slide. For single family, last year we processed 230 new permits. So new homes, new people, new families moving into the city. We're on pace to beat that number this year. In 2019, we processed 120. So we definitely more than doubled that number last year. And it'll be interesting to see how 2021 carries us through. And remember that we lost 3 months of construction last year due to the shutdown of COVID. So if you look at that and the slowdown that occurred, that shows that the team that we've got here is doing a great job at making sure that business is booming and people are able to buy that new home that they've been looking for. This year, we're anticipating about 160 to 200 new multifamily units to start. So that will be great to see those rooftops come and those families and that opportunity for different variety of housing too, to kind of meet all of the needs of the citizens. Next slide. Commercial growth. Circle K is about ready to final up. They're next to Yokes, so they'll be open up and ready for business hopefully within the next week or two. Sun Market and Firehouse Sub, they're in for permit now, probably going to pull their permits here within the next week or so to build their facility just right out in front of City Hall here. So that'll be exciting to have them next door. And then we'll have another C-store, convenience store, gas station that's looking at constructing there next to on the corner of Van Giesen and Paradise. You know, I have to say that you don't get really excited as a planner when all of these gas stations are coming, but what they do is they set they're the first wave of construction, of commercial construction that you see. And so those come and then all of the rest start coming after that. And with those multifamily units in the housing boom that we're seeing, the rooftops are really starting to come. So we're really anticipating seeing some commercial growth over the next few years. We have seen quite a bit of commercial growth with the school district and their TLAC building, or their Teaching, Learning, Administration Center. That was opened end of last year. They got their final on that, as well as the Tapfield Elementary School. So that's good to have those buildings located here. The new fire station for Fire District number 4, that was finalized, and they've got their new facility out just west of Van Giesen off of Keene Road. And then this year, we're excited to see our new West Richland Police Station go under construction. And if you go out by the racetrack, you'll see some dirt moving out there. They're going to be moving quite a bit of dirt and building that new police station for us. We're pretty excited about that. Next slide. So as we look to the future and what's happening, we have a lot of the building blocks put in place for growth and development, for commercial development here. We are working on a RCCF grant from the county to build some infrastructure and install some infrastructure down West Van Giesen. So the state has allocated funds to widen Van Giesen. And so while they are working on that project, we want to take advantage of that and install some water and sewer lines to get water and sewer to some of the industrial properties and commercial properties in the area. We feel that doing that will help facilitate some commercial growth and development in the area and be able to provide those services out to more properties. So we're definitely seeing some interest. We're getting people coming and kicking tires right now. And we are seeing some commercial cut loose. So it's pretty exciting to see and to be part of the West Richland experience out here.
Oh, thanks, Eric. That I just, we talk all the time, like we said, but to hear each of you show what's going on and how many permits are happening, how many single family and commercial and industrial. I mean, it's just amazing the growth that we're having and what's going on. We did have one question from the audience, and we'll just kind of do a jump ball here, whoever wants to jump in on it. But they asked, what kind of roadblocks or hindrances has each of the cities faced due to COVID as it applies to economic development? And I think, Evelyn, you talked about virtual permitting or something that City of Kennewick went into, but maybe we'll just go around and give examples of maybe pivots or changes everybody's had to do to make sure that economic development and development can still go on, in spite of COVID. You want to kick us off, Evelyn, and talk about maybe the virtual permitting?
Yes, I think that actually that might have been one of the silver linings of COVID, is that we were they were able to greatly expand those online permitting options. And we had tools, luckily we had tools in place prior to COVID, but they weren't always largely used. So we felt very fortunate that we had the tools with our website that we had really revamped several years ago, and then developing the online tools for permitting. And then we expanded those during COVID. We quickly realized we needed additional forms and communication tools for people to submit their permits and their attachments and just doing business in general in a virtual environment. So we think that'll continue even once we open our doors. That we've got a lot of feedback that people said, oh, this is great. I should have been using this all along. There was no faster way to push some of those services that really benefit our customers. It's a win-win where they can submit things 24/7, on the weekends or at night or early in the morning. So that's, again, one of the silver linings is that we've expanded our online services.
Does anybody else have examples or how you've kind of dealt with COVID in your areas or changed processes or procedures? Eric?
Yeah, so similar to Kennewick, we were forced to use electronic permitting and go through that, and it really helped us out. We were already planned to start up a permit tracking software that would allow us to go electronic. So this just put that shot in the arm that we needed to get started sooner and get going. We've received great feedback from the building community about having that as an option. So it's been great to see, and it helped us out. Some of the struggles that we have, I feel like, is the inability to have those face-to-face meetings with people. Really be able to go out and meet with the businesses and understand what their needs are. It's hard to do that given the circumstances. And so that's really where I feel like I would rather not have COVID around, so that I could go out and have those meetings and have that cup of coffee face to face, Karl, right? I mean, that's right. It goes a lot further with those individuals if you're able to have that FaceTime.
It does, for sure. Mandy?
Yeah, I think echoing Evelyn and Eric, of course, those changes we saw at the city as well, and kind of how we adapt to that, and just the way we do business, I think, has changed a lot. And some of those things for the positive and will continue, and some of those things I think make things a little bit harder, but we'll be able to navigate that as things get better. One of our other big changes, I would say, was that we went to virtual inspections. And so being able to actually get out and do those inspections and provide that service virtually and remotely was something that was very welcomed by the community. And I would think that we'll still continue to do at least some of that going forward, just because it's able to create efficiencies that maybe we didn't anticipate and get a lot more of that type of work done as well. So
you bet. That's great. Rick?
Yeah, well, the same story, really. We had about 90% of our permits online anyway, that were issued online. So we just kept up where that was actually instituted several years ago. We did set up outdoor kiosks, so for plan drop-off, for paper plans, and a portal, I'm going to call it, on the south side of City Hall, because even though 90% of our permits are issued online and processed online, so 1 out of 10 isn't. So we had to set up something for people that use paper, and we did, and it's effective. It was, it's kind of like going to the credit union with the plexiglass separation, et cetera, but it got the job done. It's still up. it didn't collapse during last week's snow. So we're thankful for that. We actually, I didn't mention this, but we had a really good year in 2020. We had almost 90 million in industrial permits, 500 and some homes. It was actually a very good year considering we lost, as Eric said, we lost April and May in terms of permits.
Yeah.
All in all, it was pretty surprising, really.
That's great. I wanted to bring up another topic that I think you each hit on, and that's, besides the infrastructure and then obviously the real boom in residential construction, but some of the things that you're doing in each of your cities on, more of that amenity based, from Rick, you talked about the stuff downtown with the farmers market, and Mandy, you talked about a lot of the improvements along, downtown and some of the different sectors, but that's such a huge part of economic development. Like when we're working with companies that want to come in, those amenities and that placemaking that you all talked about is a really important part of, it's a general term, but quality of life, right? Like I think that's something that, again, it's an old line, being the new Tri-City in here has really just blown me away, is that, the amenities that we do have, the things that we can access, and it's this crossover in between people that want to visit here also applies to people that want to live here and work here. And I think that that's a really important part that you all are doing great things on in that area. Last week we had on, we had our real estate discussion from the home builders and from the real estate association, and they talked about the kind of the shortage of land being a factor. And I think you've all talked about urban growth expansions or, new projects coming online, that I think the cities are really involved in making sure that there is more available land for residential construction for sure. But does anybody want to jump in on that one? I know you each talked about it a little bit, but does each city look at how do we balance out, the demand for new, basically lots, right? And infrastructure and everything goes along with it, to, we're seeing the prices of homes going up. And I think as we go forward in the future, we'll probably have a lot more discussions about affordability of housing. But does anybody want to jump in on that one? Yeah, Mandy, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start just because I think we're probably a little more landlocked than some of the others. So we have a little bit different challenge in that we try to balance infill as much as our urban growth areas to be able to leverage that in the right way and make sure that we're smart growing as opposed to just urban sprawl, right? Which is definitely a thing that nobody likes to see. And so, we have our two primary areas for housing, but we also have a lot of infill projects like the apartments, down on Columbia Park Trail and things like that. So trying to create some more density in our downtown is definitely a vision for council, and being able to, bring those rooftops to downtown and increase that vibrancy for placemaking and for those kinds of things, I think is always a challenge, but definitely at the forefront of all of our development and a goal that we keep in mind whenever we can. And we're in a unique spot to own quite a bit of property, but it's typically industrial use. So we try to keep that residential development to private party.
Yeah. Anybody else have thoughts about that one? Just, how do we take a look at those, we've got enough developable land on that residential side, or anything else going on at the cities that we didn't talk about before? Yeah, Evelyn.
I just would like to see, some of the planning starts, years earlier, and we were really fortunate to be able to, with the Bob Olson Parkway connection, that has opened up a lot of land for development for housing in that area to support our growth. So, sometimes getting those infrastructure projects, sometimes you don't see anything happen for a while, but then it provides that opportunity. So we're really excited with our growing Southridge area and having, land there available for future housing projects that are going on right now. There's been a lot going on already, and we'll continue to see that.
Yeah. And Eric, with the new development you talked about in West Richland, I mean, if it's 900 lots, I think you described it as, or
900 acres.
900 acres, excuse me, 900 acres. I mean, like, as that comes on, I just wonder if it'll take some of the price pressure off of land. I mean, is it going to be phased, or is it going to come on all at once? Or?
It will be phased, more than likely, I would imagine. That's typically how they do it. They can't put all that infrastructure in all up front and absorb that cost. So it's usually phased in, even just south of Rupert Road, where Aho is building right now. It's a 10-phase project. They're on phase. They're going to be on phase 2 starting next week. So, we will see the phasing of it. So I don't know if that will alleviate right away, but we've got probably 2 or 3 years of growth out at the ranch right now. With the current home sales that we're seeing, it would probably be 2 to 3 years where all of those lots that we have currently approved to be absorbed. And then looking north of Rupert Road, that's why we're doing this plan development now, trying to get ahead of the game and making sure that we're addressing what that's going to look like and how that's going to be. A lot of that looks at, transportation corridors. How are you going to get all of those people to and through without plugging up the systems? No offense, Pasco, we don't want another road 68 in West Richland. So, there's just things like that we're trying to plan for and adjust for to make sure that we're getting ready for that growth and that development, so that when it can come online, that it does come online and we can meet those needs. But definitely takes a lot of planning and foresight on a lot of those fronts.
And Rick, with City Pasco, you did a good job of showing, I think, talking about the urban growth area more around Road 100 and Broadmoor, that area. But like, is there a longer term plan, or have you guys talked about all the sections that the city owns, that are irrigated pivots right now that are some of your water reuse area? But do you think in the future with this rate of growth that eventually maybe the city look out there, or any discussions around that?
Yeah, there have been, Karl, and it's been a conscious decision to avoid that.
Okay.
Because of the east side is proximity to rail, the highway, the reuse facility, the wastewater systems, and candidly, it is a real problem for Pasco. It's easy for us to provide land for housing, and the affordability concern is a real concern. I mean, we're approaching $300,000 for a single family starter home now, and that's not. I don't know how young couples do it. I mean, I really don't. But we've done quite a bit of work with our urban expansion, and it's going to be challenged. I'm just telling everybody here. I'm sure you can all relate to that, or most of us can. But we're overwhelmingly single family oriented. Almost 90% of our land is designated and zoned for single family housing, and it's a problem. We're not providing enough choice in the market. We're working on a number of code issues that anybody can ask me about. It's not appropriate to talk about here, but we're working on a number of code issues that will help, I think, with opportunities for different styles of housing, but they're not in place yet, and they're not going to take the edge off that high growth rate we expect. So again, you look at the cost of utilities, the cost of housing, and candidly, the cost of the city for servicing single family housing with police, fire, and general government services. It's substantial, and probably, I'll go out on a limb, probably isn't sustainable into the future without a different way of looking at things. Whether that's, we've densified our urban growth area expansion. It was 4,800 acres when we started.
Wow.
And now it's down to 33, at least a preferred alternative. So we'll see where that goes, but I'll guarantee that the challenge is going to be getting that approved. Not so much here, but probably getting through the appeals.
You bet. Thanks, Rick. That's really good insight, and maybe some things that, as we move forward, we can, if there's a role TRIDEC can play, and even facilitating or hosting ways that we look at this together. And I know that all the cities work really well together, but if there's ever anything we can do to, help facilitate that broader discussion for the whole region or for the whole MSA, we're happy to do that. And as usual, this is such a great discussion, and you each have so much information, but we are at the end of our time. You guys want to go around and just give a quick summary recap, and we'll start with Evelyn.
I just want to thank you again, Karl, for providing these opportunities so that we can share what's going on. And I think we have a lot of hope for the future, looking around the table, what everyone's doing. So thank you for this opportunity. You
bet. Thanks for joining us. Let's go to Eric next.
Yeah, thanks, Karl. This has been great. Love having these coffees with you. It's awesome to hear too what each of the other jurisdictions are doing. I know that we actually have a every other week meeting where we huddle and talk about things. and go over what's going on so that we can be united in our efforts in trying to help the community. So yeah, just thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for being on. And Mandy?
I'd just love to thank you for the opportunity. And of course, you know, we always get excited with the chance to talk about all projects that we have going on and the work that we do throughout the year. So sometimes it's a bummer that it's once a year, but I definitely love getting together. And I think, you know, one benefit of COVID we maybe didn't mention was that we're all getting together more and we're visiting more and partnering. I would hope to see that continue going forward. So it's been great to work with all you guys and look forward to more of it.
You bet. That's a great point. Thanks, Mandy. And Rick?
Just thanks again, Karl and TRIDEC. I'm struck by each community's difference of focus areas. It's very striking to see. And when you take it as a whole, I mean, this area has a lot to offer. I mean, I don't know what the last statistic was, but there's 200 homes on the market now for sale or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just really exciting to be part of this.
It really is. And I want to thank all of you for your time and joining us. And we do have a great partnership. And, I appreciate what everybody said, because that's our feeling at TRIDEC too. And we want to try to facilitate that, but that we can speak with one voice, that we can be, realizing we're different jurisdictions, but we've got this direction. And Rick, I think you're exactly right. It's amazing the dynamicism, if that's a word, I'll just make up, about what's going on in the Tri-Cities right now. So thank you all for your time today. I did want to give a shout out to Friday at 9 o'clock. We will have on a great discussion about the Lower Snake River dams and some of the waterways and navigation and electrification and irrigation that come off of those dams. So if you have a chance, join us at 9 o'clock on Friday for Coffee with Karl, our latest in the Economic Outlook series. And thanks everybody for tuning in today. And thanks all of our guests. You guys have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.